is that I'm going to give you information tonight that you could go bring back to your doctor, and you can push him a little bit, and you can question him or her and say, listen, this is what the research is showing about my health, about this drug. Do you have you read this research study? Have you read this information? Are you up to speed on this information? And you can ask him these questions. So again, this is going to give you some talking points to be able to talk to your physician about, which I think is really important. Anytime you want to put anything in your body, you should understand the reasons why. Okay. So a lot of times the risk versus the benefit of a certain medication is something you have to ponder. You have to question that, because most doctors still believe that having high cholesterol is bad for you. In fact, they believe that high cholesterol will cause heart attacks. That's what they believe. They believe that when you have high cholesterol, it increases your risk of heart attack and stroke, and that you need to take a statin for cholesterol. There are even doctors that want to be preventative. So when I say preventative, they'll say something like, well, your cholesterol numbers according to our charts are okay, but to prevent you from them getting higher, we want to put you on a statin. There's also a group of medical doctors and medical specialists in the world that say, and they say this, that statins are so safe that they should consider putting statins in our water supply. Yes, that's what's out there. They want to put statins in our water supply. Are you serious? I don't think so. So I have a statin story. So my mother was complaining of restless leg syndrome. She had never had it before. And one day she called me up and she's like, Terry, she goes, I have restless leg syndrome. It keeps me up all night. And I don't know what in the world's causing it. And I asked her a lot of questions. And I did not know she was on a statin until after 15 or 20 questions about asking her about her diet, about her supplements, about some other things. She told me that her doctor had recently put her on a statin. And the reasons why she didn't tell me is because she knew I was against it. Whatever. But she was on a statin, and she had been on it for a month. And sure enough, one of the side effects for her being on a statin was restless leg syndrome. And you're going to learn tonight why that symptom is one of the symptoms that can occur when you have a statin in your body. And so she went off the statin per my advice. Again, I had her on a specific protocol that I thought would work better for her. And sure enough, about 3 or 4 days after she got off the statin, her restless leg syndrome was gone. Okay, so restless leg syndrome is one of the side effects of statin drugs. So tonight, we are going to talk about the side effects. We're going to talk about what a statin does. We're going to talk about, why I have strong arguments and strong science and research showing you that you don't need to be on a statin. I will post a lot of my studies where I found this material and this information from. So what is a statin? So a statin drug works by blocking an enzyme that blocks your production of cholesterol. That is what a statin does. So it actually takes the enzyme in your body and it blocks your production of cholesterol. In fact, I don't know if you knew this, but our bodies make cholesterol. So we're going to talk about that too. But the most common statin drugs are atorvastatin, which is actually Lipitor, rosuvastatin, Crestor, lovastatin, simvastatin, fluvastatin, pravastatin, and pitavastatin. Okay, so if you're on any of these are the most common statin drugs. Okay, so there are side effects from these statin drugs. By the way, if you've noticed, anything that has statin at the end of it means it's a statin. That's how you know if you're on a statin. So go look at your medical label on the drug, and if it has statin at the end of it, then you know you're on a statin drug. But there are over 300 adverse reactions from statins. So I'm just going to go over a few tonight. There are a lot more than what I am going to be revealing to you guys, but these are the most common. Myopathy. A big side effect of a statin is myopathy. And in general terms, myopathy basically means muscle disease. It affects how the muscles control the body. So it's involuntary movements of the body. So, for example, restless leg syndrome is a form of myopathy, right? Because it's causing those kind of those involuntary reactions of the body. The next one is when you take a statin, it does deplete your coenzyme Q10. And this coenzyme Q10 is the enzyme that's involved in giving your muscles energy. So think about that. If you're taking a statin that you know depletes the coenzyme Q10, which coenzyme Q10 is responsible for giving your muscles energy, you're not going to be getting that muscle energy, which then is why myopathy is one of the number one reasons why you get myopathy. So if you're deficient in coenzyme Q10, not only could you experience restless leg syndrome, but you could experience muscle wasting, muscle weakness, lower back pain, even depending how long you've been on a statin, heart failure. Okay, so taking CoQ10 if you're on a statin would be a really good thing to go on. Headaches, fatigue, sleep disturbances, dizziness or lightheadedness, bowel changes like the constipation or diarrhea, lower amounts of K2, lowers your testosterone, both men and women, increases your risk of type 2 diabetes. Why? Because a statin raises your blood sugars. And when you raise your blood sugars, what happens is then your insulin raises, and then there you go. You get insulin resistance, and eventually you could end up getting type 2 diabetes. Peripheral neuropathy, this is numbness in the hands and the feet. It also causes your liver enzymes to increase. So it will raise your liver inflammation markers. It's quite damaging to the liver, actually. Hepatitis sometimes also can be contributed to having statins or being on statins for a long period of time. It lowers your DHEA. It worsens your memory, which also gives you an increase in dementia. Hair loss. It increases your risk for shingles and increases your risk for cataracts. Oh my word. I mean, seriously, do all of those possible side effects, is it worth the risk of a statin? I don't know. Let's talk about it, because you haven't heard yet, what the risk of having cholesterol in your body would be, higher cholesterol in your body would be. So we're going to get to that next. The thing is, statins do cause a lot of psychological symptoms. So depression, anxiety, irritability, aggression, nightmares, and decreased concentration. So let's talk next about the facts of cholesterol. Okay, these are facts now. Our body makes 3,000 milligrams per day of cholesterol. Liver cells make cholesterol. You also can get cholesterol from your diet, but your body makes 3,000 milligrams of it. So if your body makes 3,000 milligrams of cholesterol per day, why are we trying to decrease it? Cholesterol is very healing. In fact, 3,000 milligrams that our body makes on its own is equivalent to 1 pound of butter, 14 eggs, or 300 strips of bacon. Okay, so my question to you, and the question you want to pose to your doctor, is if our bodies make about 3,000 milligrams and our body needs cholesterol, why are you trying to suppress it? I mean, it's a legitimate question to ask him or her, right? Our bodies need cholesterol, and there are tons of scientific research that explains and proves that why your body needs cholesterol. The purpose of cholesterol, you guys, is it's a precursor for hormones like testosterone and cortisol and stress hormones. Also, the cellular membranes, which is the LDL protein that carries cholesterol into the arteries, is a healer. So most of the time when your arteries get clogged, it's because there's already some lesions in the arteries. And what cholesterol does is it comes in and it's like a Band-Aid on those lesions. So we need cholesterol to actually repair those lesions. Also, cholesterol is a precursor to be making bile salts. We also need cholesterol in order for our bodies to absorb vitamin D. But bile salts are extremely important in being able to digest fats and to absorb fat soluble vitamins and omega-3. So if we need cholesterol in order to make bile salts, and then you end up going on a statin and decreases that bile, you're going to have digestion issues. So by the way, cholesterol is really, when you talk about LDL and HDL, I'm getting a little bit off the topic here, but I just wanted to make sure that you guys understand that cholesterol is carried within the HDL and the LDL. So LDL and HDL isn't cholesterol. So LDL and HDL are protein carriers. It's like, think of them as trucks. So your HDL, it removes the excess cholesterol from the cells, and then it brings it to the liver where it converts it into bile salts. And then the VLDL is then transformed into LDL. The LDL is then delivered back as cholesterol to the cells. Okay, so there's this big like circular process that our body naturally knows how to do. So when you take a statin, it blocks that process. Cholesterol is needed for our eyes, it's needed for our brain, and it's also needed for our skin. Your body needs cholesterol. Is why your body makes 3,000 milligrams a day. It needs it to perform many functions in the body. Now, I'm going to say something here, and it's going to shock you, but this is what you're being told. Cholesterol does not cause heart attacks. You're being told it does. Cholesterol does not. Did you see this? Not. Did you hear me? Cholesterol does not cause heart attacks. So why then do people fall into the fear of a statin? It's a great question, right? Like, your doctors want to tell you you need a statin because they're giving you these ranges on your blood work of where your numbers should be. By the way, those numbers continue every few years. They lower and lower and lower those cholesterol numbers, because that way they can put you on a statin. So statins, I'm telling you, statins are very dangerous. They have a ton of side effects. And the research papers I'm going to show you prove that statins cause all this imbalance in your body. And high cholesterol is not what's causing heart attacks. Okay, that's a whole nother video, but it's not the cholesterol that's causing heart attacks. The cholesterol is very healing. So then why are we buying into it? It's because we are afraid. We are afraid we're going to have a heart attack if we don't go on a statin. I'm here to tell you that the research shows otherwise. Okay, inflammation, poor diet, high triglycerides, diabetes, high blood sugars, which, by the way, sugars convert to triglycerides. Those are the dangers. Those are what's causing your arteries to be blocked. You're either feeding disease or you're feeding health. It's not the cholesterol that's the problem. It's the triglycerides. And the risk benefit reward of a statin, as you can see, it's just not worth it. You're getting a lot of negative results from a statin because it's taking away the cholesterol that you need in your body for all these functions. You need your brain health, your bones, your eyes, your healing of the cells in the body. So, I want you to take some of this information, and you can ask your physician to read some of these articles. And I'm going to tell you something. If you go to your medical doctor and you provide him with these articles, a lot of times, and I'm going to kind of defend the medical doctors here a little bit, because there's a lot of amazing medical doctors in the world. I honestly, I'm not trying to knock medical doctors, but the thing is they're just not up on the latest research. They are taught in medical school how to prescribe medications. Okay, so they're just not up on the latest research. The holistic practitioners and the naturopaths, they're up on the research. They're the ones that know this stuff. And so, I see all the time my clients who come to me who have, restless leg syndrome and who are tired all the time, and their triglycerides are extremely high, and they have brain fog, and they have gut issues, and diarrhea and constipation, and they have all these issues, right? And we start taking them off a statin and cleaning up their diet and lowering their triglycerides, they feel like a different person. Because again, the statin is doing more than just lowering the cholesterol. It's also blocking absorption of certain key nutrients that your body needs to survive and live. So sometimes the side effects of these medications are not worth the benefits. And honestly, is it a benefit? That's what you have to ask yourself. They're proposing, the medical doctors are proposing that you need to lower your cholesterol. But do you? Right? Is there a benefit to taking a statin when you know that cholesterol is not bad in your body? Okay, you guys. So this is some stuff for you to think about. I will post all of the studies that I used for this class tonight. But one thing I will say is, if you are on a statin, my opinion is you need to get off of it right away. Then I would do this: is I would absolutely start taking coenzyme Q10. And you need to look at your diet and lower your triglycerides. And how do you lower your triglycerides? It's not fat that lowers triglycerides. Lowering your triglycerides means that you have to quit eating carbs, complex carbs like, pastas, rice, cakes, oatmeal, sugar, because that is what's converting into your triglycerides, not olive oil and coconut oil and salmon and the omegas. That's not what's getting your triglycerides up. You need to eat high quality foods that have a lot of phytonutrients in them, a lot of healthy, nutritious food like vegetables and high quality proteins, lowering your insulin, lowering your inflammation, and find a new doctor. If you go to your medical doctor and he poo-poos your questions about a statin drug, and he refuses to read some of the scientific research or is not up on it, you need to fire your medical doctor and find a new one that is more open to the latest research, or find a naturopath. The way my total cholesterol is like I think it's like 217 or 221. And my doctor, well, my old doctor would have said, you need to go on a statin as a preventative. I'm like, absolutely not. My triglycerides are like in the 30s, I think. It's basically nothing. And my HDL, which is the HDL, which is, the cholesterol that's actually not supposed to be the bad cholesterol, is high. And even the LDL. So let me really quick. Oh, this is a whole nother class. I'll go there for a minute. Let me go back to the screen where I showed the HDL and the LDL. So when you guys go to the lab and you get your HDL and your LDL checked and your total cholesterol checked, if you get just the general lipid panel, it's called, you're going to get your triglyceride number, total cholesterol, HDL, and LDL. Those are the four. Okay. Like I said, LDL and HDL are just carriers of protein. HDL is, not bad cholesterol at all, and neither is LDL. There's two kinds of LDL. There is small, dense LDL particles, and there's large, buoyant LDL particles. Really, the only LDL particles that are a concern are the small, dense. However, a lipid panel does not give you that data. An LDL panel only gives you the total number of LDL particles. Whereas if you get an advanced lipid panel, it's going to tell you how much small, dense, and large buoyant you have. It's the large buoyant are fine. The small, dense are a concern. So this is why when you get a normal cholesterol panel, and you get the total number 230, 240, 250, whatever, there's no relevance there. It doesn't matter, because you could have a lot of LDL large buoyant that aren't any sort of danger at all. But you could have just a few of the small buoyant or the small dense. So that would be a question you could ask your medical doctor next time you talk to them. Say, listen, do you know what my ratio of small dense to large buoyant LDL is? Because why do I need to go on a statin if I don't have a lot of small dense LDL? Anyway, I'm getting a little bit complex here. I don't want to get too complex. My point is, cholesterol is not bad. Cholesterol doesn't cause heart attacks. Triglycerides are the danger. Triglycerides. You want to get your triglycerides down. Doesn't matter, cholesterol. Doesn't matter. Let me make one caveat. If your cholesterol is in the 300-400s, that means you have really high triglycerides too. And it means that you have a lot of bad LDL or a lot of small dense. So, if your triglycerides that high, if your cholesterol is in the 300s, then you better get an advanced lipid panel and you better change your diet immediately. Still doesn't mean you have to go on a statin though. Because again, remember, your body makes cholesterol. Don't stop eating eggs. Don't do it. Don't stop eating eggs. Your body needs them. Have a good night.